This is Erica with Launching Legacies. Welcome to our daily devotional. We are continuing this devotional that started off with Entropy. Today we're going to talk about receptivity versus control. And there are two options. So I'm going to tell a few stories. I'll make a reference, kind of a spoiler alert, to later on in the week. We're going to look at the 23rd Psalm. So if you want to read that in advance, feel free to. I'm not going to necessarily tell you the connection there, but we'll get to it when we get to it. As for today, let's talk about this. So we talked about yesterday the concept of entropy, which is that the world tends towards chaos. The system of the world tends towards this chaos, this disorganization and things going wrong. And when we identify entropy in our life, in our relationships, or in our mindset or understanding, then it's important that, for one, it's important that we understand that if it left alone, if nothing happens, things go out of control. People think, and this is an erroneous thought, that, I'll just leave it alone. Right, I'm just going to leave this part of my life alone. I won't worry about it. I'll bury it. I'll put it in, a drawer somewhere, put it in a bushel, do whatever you want to do with it. People have all these different sayings of how they're going to deal with things that they don't like. But the truth of the matter is things left unattended, things left undealt with in any manner, they tend towards entropy. And entropy is chaos. So if you leave it, it won't just stay. Something will happen to it. It'll decay. It'll rot. It'll turn septic. It will be chaotic. It will be disorganized. It will not just stay. That's just not how this world system works. So anything left will become more and more disturbed. Okay? Unless something is acting upon it to prevent this entropy or this chaos or this disorganization. And so how does that work? Well, you have two options, technically. You can choose to act upon something with control, or you can choose to act upon something receiving some other source of interaction. And let's talk about those two things because they're not the same. So if something is in entropy, going towards chaos and disorganization, I can make two choices. I can decide that I'm going to take hold of this thing and organize it and make it the way I want it to be. This is kind of how man has understood science, right? We decided that we were going to look at animals and species and say, well, I'm going to make this phylum and this category and this category and this category, and I can't remember all of them. You guys, biology was a long time ago, but there's all these different organizations and systems for naming animals and plants and things, right? And so I can start to organize things. I can start to control and put them into patterns or put them into systems in order to better understand them so that so there's no longer a chaotic mess or a big just soup of things. Now things are organized. And that would be a way of kind of controlling something. The next, though, is receptivity. Receiving them as they come to us, right? This is a more naturalistic approach in which you just let things come to you as they do. And instead of controlling, making them fit into your boxes, you allow them to go into whatever way they tend to go. Okay. And there are two different approaches to this concept or this world system of entropy, things getting out of control. Now, things in your life will get out of control. Relationships, they'll get out of control. Things will move in all kinds of directions, but it's your choice how you're going to deal with that natural chaotic movement of things. You can control them or you can receive them as they are and adapt yourself to the process of whatever's going to happen. So let me give you an example. I've been telling the story for the last few days in counseling, and someone ministered to me early this morning. Probably one of the reasons why I'm broadcasting a little bit late today was I need to receive ministry too, right? And so someone was ministering to me and the story came back up again, and I was thinking about this. And so what the way the story goes is I was working with a woman a few years ago or some time ago, and she was angry with her husband because she had been riding in the car with him, and his driving style was the one that was more erratic than hers, right? She thought, okay, he's more emotional. He'll honk his horn and not let people over and do all these things. And so she had been in the car with him, and she exaggerated a situation that had happened. She was telling me about the situation in feeling justified. And so what she said was, I got in the car, we were driving, and then he didn't let somebody over, and he honked the horn, and I screamed, and we almost got into an accident. And I was thinking, I was afraid for my life, and I was so concerned. And so she was, feeling all the drama and the emotion of it. And so she wanted advice, and she said, so what should I say to him about this type of driving? Because I was just really concerned for my life, and I was so afraid, and I didn't know what to do. And so she wanted to know, well, what should I do? And I told her, oh, well, you can't do anything. And so she said, what? So she was very upset with me. And I said, well, no, you don't understand. If you were riding in the car and your husband was driving, you can't do anything. And I said, what happens is when you decide to get in the car with the person, you put your life in their hands. That's what the decision is. So saying to your husband, you drive and I'm going to ride, means you're in control and I'm going to just coast through with you. I'm relying on you to keep us safe. If in that process he decides to be, he loses it and goes off the side of a mountain, or loses it and goes into incoming traffic, whatever he decides, at that point that you get in the car, his decisions now override your decisions. You're no longer in control. Now you're a receiver of the process. And it's important that we understand that there's always going to be a time to choose. For me, even in my journey right now with the Lord, there's a time in which I need to choose. Am I going to be in control? Right? Do I want to drive the car, or am I going to ride and receive? Whichever way we get there, you're the one that's driving, so you're the one that's in control. Sometimes this is very difficult for us. We're like, oh, I knew I should have driven. Oh, I knew. And the backseat drivers can be extremely annoying. Is when they get emotional, they can be almost intolerable. You can't tolerate them. But at the same time, it's very clear, despite whatever the person in the passenger seat says, whoever's driving is in control. And what about you? Are you driving and in control? Are you receiving as a passenger and taking the journey? And wherever it leads you. Because there is a force acting on the entropy. And that force might be, in this situation, it's the car that's being driven, right? It's the vehicle that's operating. If all of those vehicles on the freeway all of a sudden were left to know nobody was operating them, there would be accidents and crashes and all kinds of crazy things, right? There would be no system or order of making things work together. But even in that system of making things work together rather than going towards chaos, there's a choice. You can control or you can receive. You can control or you can receive. And then the story with this woman, what it got down to was, I said, you need to learn to receive from your husband what he's given to you. If he's giving you a ride somewhere, if he's driving you somewhere, receive the rest of not having to be in control of the vehicle, which means no, you don't get to protest, and no, you don't get to scream and yell and act a fool. If your life is in danger, you can say to him, wow, I was afraid. That scared me. But in no way do you get to demean the person who you've given control over this opportunity. As soon as you say you'll drive and I will ride, you're saying you're now in control. My life is in your hands. I hope you do well with it. I hope you make good decisions. I hope we get to where we're supposed to go. But all the other nuances that are part of that ride are not for you to control. You're a receiver now. And sometimes we need to learn to receive. But it's a decision. Will you control or will you be receptive? Because if you're going to make the decisions, you need to know that. And on the other hand, if you're going to allow others to, you need to know that too. Because either way you push it, somehow it needs to be understood. Why? Because the world tends towards entropy. You can't just leave it unknown. And that's what some people want to do. I just won't decide. I'm just not going to do anything. I'm not going to, no. No, you don't understand. You're going to need to decide, because if left alone, it's going to go in towards chaos. So are you in control, or are you receiving? I want you to think back to the first day of this devotional. If you haven't watched it, you can go back and watch it. But if you watched Entropy and I asked you what in your life is tending towards entropy that you need to be mindful of, now I want you to answer this next question. Given that particular area, are you a receiver, or are you in control? Are you a receiver, or are you in control? We're praying for you. And we hope that you're praying for Launching Legacies. We will see you again tomorrow with another of our devotionals. Until then, be blessed and consider and contemplate what we have said. If you want to read ahead, Psalm 23 would be a great place to start. All right. See you tomorrow. Be blessed.